Hi guys, Matt here from Behind the Eye, and thanks for coming to hang out with me for a little bit. I was going to do a Q&A for you all today because I've got a ton of questions and I thought I'd just whack it all together and make some kind of a compilation for you. However, one of the questions that I've been getting a lot of in regards to this Thor Bjornsson and Eddie Hall fight that's coming up, a lot of people want to know my opinions on it. A lot of people know that I've been to Iceland many times. I've trained and learnt a lot from Thor, and they just want to know basically where I stand on this. So I thought that I would just do a video specifically on this subject because there's a little bit more than just predicting, you know, a fight outcome, at least in my opinion. So let's dive into it. Back in a sec. Okay, Eddie Hall and Thor Bjornsson. For those of you that don't know, these are both, well, were both professional strongmen, and believe it or not, they were actually quite good friends prior to the World's Strongest Man 2017. If Thor had to go to the UK for whatever reason, Eddie would often be there to pick him up from the airport and, you know, hang out with him. They'd be seen eating together, obviously training together, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, this all sort of came to an end in 2017 at the World's Strongest Man, where Eddie won the competition. Eddie is the 2017 World's Strongest Man. However, Thor believed that the competition was in some ways rigged or stacked in Eddie's favour, and he became quite vocal to this point. Now it all stems back. There's a lot to the story. There's a lot going that people don't understand. It's not just as simple as some person claiming someone else got a free ride, and, you know, no, there's a lot more to it than that. Basically, they were both having really good competitions, and they were neck and neck the entire way. One of the last events was the Viking press, and for those of you that don't know, a Viking press is basically an apparatus that is hooked like a lever system. So you press, and basically whatever the weight is, it sits up there, but it is pivoted to a point. So you actually don't have control over, you don't need to worry about the stability of the weight or anything like that. It is fixed. So it's like, excuse me, it's like in a way it's like pressing in a Smith machine. You only need to worry about pushing up. Now, for this reason, because you don't need to worry too much about the balancing of the weight, some guys will try and do what they call double dipping, which means that they'll squat down a little bit, like you'll see in the log press or an axle press or whatever it is, and they will press and then they'll dip again to catch it above their head. Now what this basically does is it gives them, if they can do it right, it gives them the ability to, I guess you might want to call it almost like snatch the weight, as opposed to leaning back and simply pressing it. And for this reason, they've banned double dipping. So they've said you can do it once per press, but that's it. Now this was fine for Eddie, because Eddie naturally, if anyone's seen his pressing, he will naturally just lean back. Like Zandrunas and guys like this, he'll naturally just lean back and use his shoulder strength to press the weight. Eddie is very accomplished in static lifting, so he has that shoulder power. Thor, on the other hand, is a more explosive athlete, so he will attempt to try and flick the weight and then catch it again. So he got caught out, and Magnus the Magnusson, which is a very famous Icelander, he was the referee on this particular occasion, and Magnus, I know Magnus quite well. Magnus is a very fair referee. He will call it exactly it is, doesn't matter what nationality you are, Whether you know him, whether you don't, he is straight down the line. And he was in this occasion as well. And he gave Hapthor a couple of warnings, and then on Hapthor's last attempt, he gave him a no lift. Now Hapthor didn't say too much about this, and it was just, he was happy with the amount of reps that he got. He went off, he celebrated with his team, and that was that. Eddie was up next, and Eddie ended up with one extra rep. Now I don't think Hapthor was sort of hanging out expecting this was going to happen. So obviously when Eddie did get that extra rep, it then put Eddie in contention for the win. Hapthor then started to say things like, that he believed at least that the entire competition was rigged for Eddie to win, and that, because obviously Hapthor was upset, he was emotional, and he was just letting his mind dictate what he was saying. He wasn't really, he was letting his emotions, dictate what he was saying, not so much his mind. So anyway, he said some things that I'm sure he didn't mean, that were just in the heat of the moment. Eddie took exception to this, and now we've got this backwards and forwards, which has over the years, it's culminated into a fight, a boxing match, so that they can, I guess, in their own minds, work out who is the superior male. You say what you want about that, but that's the decision they've decided to take. It's obviously going to bring them a lot of money, so who in this day and age can turn down cash? So that's where we're at. That's the little bit of the backstory. It was all back 2017 over whether or not Eddie deserved the win, whether or not the events were tailored to his strengths. That's another video altogether right there. I'm just telling you so that you've got a bit of a backstory as to why things are the way they are. So anyway, fight's been planned. This is not the first time the fight was planned. It's been postponed a couple of times. Eddie unfortunately hurt his bicep in training. When I say hurt his bicep, he needed surgery. So what are you going to do? You can't blame the guy. He was training, he tore his bicep. Obviously the fight needs to be postponed. Anyway, it's set now for 19th of next month, March. It's going to be a big comp. I believe it's in Dubai, and both the athletes are going hard for it. Now, the questions that I've been getting are my predictions. Well, firstly, I'll say this. I'm not a boxing commentator. I did some boxing when I was younger, but I am far from an expert on that sport. So what I will do is I'll give you some of the details. They seem to have taken different approaches with this. Eddie has stayed quite large. I believe Eddie's heaviest, Eddie was around about 195 kilo, which is about 430 pound. And he is now dropped down to about 164, if what I can find out is accurate, which is around about 360 pound. So, he's dropped 70 pound. He's looking really good. He's still big. And I believe the reason why he stayed big is so that he can maintain some of that power. And if you look at his training videos, I'll put some training videos up in a sec. You can see that Eddie, he drops bombs. This guy, his punches are hard and accurate. So whether or not that's paid off for him, because obviously the flip side is whether or not he's going to have enough gas in the tank to go the full, if the fight does go to the full, all rounds finished. So I guess this is where Eddie's gambling. He's gambling on either a technical knockout or a knockout early on in the fight. So whether or not that pans out, I guess time will tell. Hapthor, on the other hand, he seemed to have gone in a different direction. He seems to have gone into more of a, he looks like he's going down the fitness side of things. Hapthor is a lot taller than Eddie. Eddie stands at 6'3". Hapthor is, depending on who you ask, he's about 6'9". So obviously he's going to have a longer reach, and it looks like his plan is to come in lean. He was at his heaviest, 210 kilos, which is 460 pound, and from what I can tell now, he's about 145 kilo, which is 320 pounds. So that's a massive drop in weight, and it would appear as though Hapthor is looking down the fitness side of things. It looks like he's going to look to obviously play the fight all the way through, stick behind his jab, and see if he can wear out Eddie, through that way. Again, like I told you, this is just what I can see. I'm not a boxing coach. I'm not a boxing trainer. So this is just what I've been able to sort of look at on the internet and all that sort of thing. I haven't spoken to Hapthor for a while. As you can imagine, he's a very busy man with everything he's got going on. But the last time I did speak to him, he was in really high spirits and actually excited about the fight. Now, the interesting thing is that, obviously I did brush on the subject a little bit with Hapthor, and I asked him, whether or not there was sort of any kind of real bad blood or hatred or anything like that between him and Eddie. Hapthor was surprising because he said no. It's a shame things have gotten to how they've gotten, but here they are nonetheless, and this is a challenge, and a challenge that he's taking seriously. So, put it this way, I know Hapthor. I first met Hapthor in 2015 on my first trip to Iceland. Now, this was back when Hapthor was involved in the Game of Thrones and all this. This is a long time before, he was even on the podium at the world stage. He was competing in big competitions, but he wasn't placing super high. Now, I spent the day with Magnus Ver Magnusson. He was just basically showing me around. We went out for lunch and all that sort of thing. Magnus got a call, so he had to go back to his gym, which was Jakobol, which for those of you that don't know, it's roughly translated as kind of like the nest of the giants. So I'll pop up some logos so you can see what I'm talking about. Really cool gym, and a lot of the equipment that he's got there was actually used by Jan Paul Sigmarsson. So it's just gear that's most of it's handmade, can't be broken, and some of the strongest men in the world have touched his stuff. So it's kind of like a bit of a mecca for strongmen, especially for those that are a little bit older who know of Magnus's career and that sort of thing. Anyway, we had to go back to Jakobol, and wouldn't you know it, when I got there, this great big tall man came walking in with his, I wouldn't call him his entourage, because that's not the way Hapthor thinks, but with his friends. He had his training partner and a few other people to help him, and I was blown away by how nice of a person he was. Obviously I asked for a photo and he obliged, but then he went a little bit further on. He basically said, how long are you going to be in Iceland? And by the time the conversation was finished, we had planned for him to pick me up from my hotel in 2 days' time. We're going to come, we're going to train, and then afterwards we had a fantastic workout. Afterwards we went out for lunch, and from then we had a bit of a friendship going. The next time I went to Iceland, I had new Icelandic friends. And when I say new Icelandic friends, these are the warmest people you'll ever get to meet. I've got friends through Jakobol that will be lifelong friends. These are people that I miss terribly when I'm not there, and I speak to as frequently as I can. They're fantastic people, and people that I would go all the way across to the other side of the world for, just to hang out and obviously train. But anyway, long story short, I've trained with Hapthor basically every time I've been to Iceland, and he's even though his prestige has gotten more and more, he stayed humble, and he is, in my opinion, a really cool person. And I do obviously wish him all the very best. Now, I don't know Eddie, but the impression I get is that Eddie's also a pretty nice guy. He seems to be like a bit of a joker, you know, someone that you would expect to, you know, to be a bit of a laugh at a party or that sort of thing. But I think the one thing that we can take away from this is it's great. It's great that they're, you know, they've gone out in this avenue. They're doing something that's not been done before. You know, these guys are going to be the super heavyweight boxers, or whatever they're going to be classed as. It will be entertaining. They've both put an incredible effort into preparing themselves in whatever way they or their team believe that they should prepare themselves for this event. But the one thing that stands out for me that doesn't really get spoken about is the fact that these two guys, through all of this, have lost a friendship. And in the world that we live in, that for me is incredibly sad. You know, I feel badly for them because, you know, you can never have too many friends. So for whatever reason, because emotion took over, or whatever the case might be, they're no longer mates, and I think that's a tragedy. And I would hope very much that after this is all done, whether Thor wins, whether Eddie wins, I can hope that they come together as mates, shake hands, and actually renew a friendship, because there's a lot that these two can do together. You know, through Facebook and all this sort of thing, or YouTube, or whatever platform they want to use, Instagram. There's a lot they can do together to bring a lot of great content out and influence people. So that's what I'd like to see. I really would, and I believe it's going to happen. I think, as most of us has ever been in a fight before, you know, some of my very best friends in real life have come out of having a punch on, you know, on the oval in the school grounds, or, you know, playing rugby, you know, and a tackle gets out of hand and turns into a fist fight. It's an interesting thing, and a lot of people won't understand it, but after a fight, it kind of gives you a new respect for a person, and I can only hope that they become mates again. So that is my take on the whole thing. I'm sorry, I would have loved to have given you a little bit more insight as to what I believe that tactically they're going to do for the fight, but when I do take the time to speak to Thor, I don't talk to him about his tactics, because everybody else in this whole world is doing that. I talk to him about his family, I talk to him about his son, I talk to him about his prospects and what he's got planned for the future, because to be honest with you, I couldn't really care less about the fight. I just hope that they both stay safe, and when it's all said and done, it would be nice to see them friends again, and I look forward to seeing what the future brings for them both. So that is my take on the Thor Eddie fight. Of course, I'm going to be watching. Do I have a specific person that I'd like to see win? Well, yeah, I'd like to see Thor win, but that's purely because, you know, I know Thor, I respect him, and he is a friend. So who wouldn't want to obviously barrack for a mate? But like I said, provided he comes out, you know, not seriously injured or anything like that, that's whatever happens. These guys, I'm sure, will move forward, and everything will be just fine. Okay, that's pretty much it for me. A long answer to a very short question. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for putting up with this ramble. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of make it a little bit more clear as to the fact that I don't really care about boxing. I care about the human side behind everything that we do. Everything will be just fine. Alright guys, thank you very much. Take care, keep safe, and let me know in the comment section if you've got any other questions or if there's anything you'd like to see. As always, thank you for all your support, and I look forward to talking with you all again shortly. Take care.